Hi there and welcome to this week's episode of the Gazette's Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette and I'm joined by my regular line mates here, former Canadiens teammates and 1986 Stanley Cup champions, Chris Nyland and Rick Green. Habs are off to a 3-1 start to the season following Tuesday night's wild 5-4 overtime win over the Seattle Kraken in the home opener at the Bell Center. Knuckles, I know you and Rick were there in the Alumni Lounge with a lot of other former Canadiens players to help pay tribute to Ken Dryden. Just what were your thoughts on the ceremony and the game and what was a memorable night at the Bell Center?
Yeah, it was typical Montreal Canadiens ceremony. You know, they not to be outdone by Toronto, no question. It was such a nice touch having his mask sitting on the net there, and then the video tribute was unbelievable, and the family being there, and his wife and kids and stuff. It just, it was typical Montreal Canadiens. Pre-game ceremony was awesome, classy, to the point, and to hear Bob Gainey speaking, narrating,
reading from the game.
Cool. It was so cool.
That was really cool. I mean, whoever at the Canadiens marketing department ever came up with the idea to have Bob Gainey read an excerpt from the game, right, and then dim the lights at the Bell Center with Dryden's old mask on top of the net and the spotlight. I mean, for the guys behind the bench, I know you were with some of his former teammates in the lounge, but his old teammates behind the bench, that must have been really emotional for them.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see them all, and all those great players from those great teams, just to be around them, to be around such greatness, it's awesome, just to be part of that. But the game itself, it
was wild.
Listen, it's a win, and there were a lot of good things and some not so good things. I think some of the goals were soft against, and that has to be cleaned up. There's no question about it, but. It was awesome to see them stick with it, stick to the game plan, and finally get it done. And Demidov, incredible. Great on the first goal, and in the tying goal, just phenomenal move. Patience with the puck, hockey sense, just all those great things. He had everybody down on the ice. He held on to it, and he had an open net. So great in the tying goal. And then Caulfield, my little American friend, just... no room there at all. Both shots, his release is just insane, and good on them. So, pack up the points. You're going to need them because December comes again. That Christmas trip is always a big one for this team, but put the points in the bank now, and that trip will maybe be a little bit easier.
Well, Brendan Gallagher last night too. One of the goals he beat an offside call. An icing call that the Canes ended up keeping it in the zone, and then on the Demidov's goal, he was creating mayhem in front of the net when Demidov scored. But for Rick, a night I'm sure you were very happy you were there to watch it live.
In true Canadiens fashion, they know how to do things first class. And, when you see the graphics and the drone buzzing around and just, the national anthems, everything in the presentation is so well done. And what impressed me also was the fact that a lot of the people that were there watching the game, the fans, even though they probably didn't see Ken Dryden and what he did as a player, were all up, standing ovation and just cheering him on as they watched him play and they knew everything about him. And what a special place this city is when it comes to recognizing the past and even the current guys. Obviously, they do such a great job in marketing them and making them available for a lot of things in the community. And hats off to them again for running such a first-class show. And like Nuck said, to see them highlight the mask on the net was really, really touching and a real special night. I was really happy to be part of it.
I know, speaking with Mike Matheson after the game, the players are too young to remember Ken Dryden as a player, but Mike Matheson's dad from Montreal certainly remembered, and Mike was telling me they didn't get a chance to watch the ceremony because they were getting ready for their own presentation, but he was looking forward and hoping to be able to go home afterwards and watch it with his dad, so that's kind of cool. I know Mike Farber, the one and only Mike Farber, Knuckles, I know you love Mike, and He put it best when he once wrote in the Gazette, only two institutions in Western civilization truly grasp ceremony, the House of Windsor and the Montreal Canadiens. I think that was another example of it last night. Knuckles, earlier in the day, they announced that Geoff Molsons announced that Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes have both been signed to 5-year contract extensions that kick in next season. Gorton also gets a new title. He's now president of hockey operations instead of executive vice president. Knuckles, what's impressed you most about how these two guys have rebuilt this team and their ability to work together? Geoff Molsons said when he hired them, he realized that this was a job for two people, and these two guys certainly work well together.
Yeah, listen, Gorton's track record, come on, he set the table in Boston for that Stanley Cup win in 2011. He set the table for Chiarelli. Okay, he doesn't get the job. Chiarelli gets it. He leaves, goes to New York, works his way up the ranks, becomes the GM there, and turned that thing around in New York. He couldn't finish it. And thank God he got fired. I'm glad he got fired because here he is. And, it takes a guy from Boston to straighten out the Montreal Canadiens, and that's a good thing. But all kidding aside, knowledgeable guy. He started as a statistician for the Boston Bruins back in the day. A statistician.
That and he was dealing with the media, like bringing players to interviews, and he took it upon himself to start a video library.
It's a great story of
his dad was a plumber. Yeah. I remember interviewing. He said he got his work ethic from his dad. Yeah. His dad just told him outwork everybody. Yeah. Typical Boston guy. Knuckles.
Yeah, and then certainly Ken Hughes being from here and transplanting himself down to Massachusetts and living there for so long and being a great player agent has it. Certainly now the wherewithal to understand both sides of the coin when it comes to negotiating. He's done, both ways, and it's proved to have paid off so far. Look at how they've straightened out the cap in this, this team and this organization because it was out of whack for a bit there, and now they're bringing it back front and center. Guys are signing here. Used to be a place, no one wants to come to Montreal. No one wants to come to Montreal. Well, they want to come here now. You look at Hutson's, contract, and kid wants to play here. He loves it here. When his contract's up, he's going to be fine. So, listen, they've done a great job. I want to see them finish it off, and I love to see that culminate in the Stanley Cup. No question about it.
Rick, I wrote a column this week saying they seem to just be honest and straightforward with the players. And that's what Hughes seemed to be with the negotiations with Hudson, which were sort of going off the rails. I mean, you've been player and assistant coaches. How important is that to have that from your management, just being straightforward and honest with guys?
Well, let's say that, like players, chemistry is super important. When you put two guys, Kent Hughes and Gorton, together, and they seem to obviously complement each other in what they bring to the table, and I think we're seeing the results of it. They have great people skills. They respect today's players, on and off the ice. They have a lot of really good sensitivity towards what it takes to play in the NHL. And, these guys stepped into a situation where Marc Bergevin had created some very, problematic areas that they've been trying to fix up. And if you look at what they've done so far and what they're good at is they identify the guys that fit the mold of what they like to do and how they like to mold the Montreal Canadiens, and guys with their hearts in the right places, ones that aren't on a short-term leash. And then they identify that, and then they move the guys out that they have no plans for. You saw with Armia Dvorak, and the list goes on. So they have a real good understanding of where they're going and how to go about it. And I think we're starting to reap some of the benefits of obviously the decisions that they made on their personnel and what they want to do with this organization moving forward.
Yeah, it's a big difference from the days of Marc Bergevin. If you want loyalty, get a dog. And, when they had Radulov and Markov, and it was like first come, first serve for the contract. I know, Knuckles, one of the other things that Gorton and Hughes have done is brought the alumni back in. And the home opener was another example about that. Just how much does that mean to you? I know you're an ambassador with the team now and do a lot of good work. What's it like just to be welcomed back there the way you have been?
Here's the deal. I believe, when you look at that, it starts at the top, and Geoff Molsons at the top, right? And when Bergie was here, Bergie had some sway with him, like, hello, and Geoff has since put that in Jeff Gorton's lap, which is a good thing, I believe. And not that Geoff isn't capable, but I think the relationship between Geoff and Bergie was such that Bergie kind of had free reign, and to some extent. And as far as listen, I get it. It's these players' time. Our time has passed. It's their locker room. I get all that. I just know what I was brought up in this organization, having some of them veterans around and visible. It was invaluable for us. And Dickie Moore, Doug Harvey, told Blake, guys come in the room after the game, like, hello, Jean Beliveau, even Guy in retirement. So, it's important. I think Bergie had a little bit of, I don't know if he's insecure having those guys around. I don't think any of these guys are in a position, I'm going to go in and coach these kids and we're going to tell them what to do. None of that. It's just, it's nice to see those guys around. They're not going to be around forever. Looking at those guys on the bench last night that played with Ken Dryden, they're in the twilight here. And, I'm getting there too, for Christ's sake. I don't like, how about you, Rick? But, it's nice to be part of, right? It's nice to be part of.
And Montreal Canadiens, they talk about always being a family, and we remember the days where we treated each other like family, and then we kind of got away from that with Bergevin's era, and we were kind of removed from the group, and it's just a decision that he had made. But now to see with the new guys coming in and allowing us to be around, visible, to go in the dressing room with some of the current players and socialize with them, it's like, whoa, what a difference. And it's kind of neat, and it's very well received on our standpoint to be able to be included and share a few stories and be amongst today's players.
Well, when Bergevin was there, Molson sort of was the president of hockey operations. I mean, that's who Bergevin reported to. And, Molson was asked about, Gorton's new title going to president. And he said, well, it's a bit of a promotion, but it's also sort of goes along with what other teams in the NHL. And it makes it more clear exactly what his role is, president of hockey operations. He's the guy in charge. And Molson was asked if his title changes, so president and CEO. And he said, no, I'm president more of the, including Evenko and business stuff and stuff like that. So kudos to Geoff Molson for, one, biting the bullet to start this rebuild, and two, stepping back and bringing in Gorton and Hughes and sort of letting them do their jobs, Knuckles. That seems that's the way an owner should be running a hockey team.
Well, listen, I think before they named these two guys and brought them in and brought Geoff in, Geoff sat down with a panel of guys, and Bob Gainey was one of them. And Bob is he's a critical thinker, and I certainly a bright guy, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's where that came from, Jeff Gorton, from Bob Gainey. Bob respect a guy like that, and I don't know for sure, but my antennas up say Bob Gainey had something to do with that, and I really feel that Geoff, like you said, biting the bullet and hiring somebody to do that position and keeping him like, as the COO and taking care of all the business stuff. That's great. Not that he doesn't know hockey, but it's good to hire someone to do that. Now Geoff is the man responsible, Jeff Gorton, for overseeing this whole thing, and he's proven already he's able to do something like this. And you look at the fruits of their labor, both of them, and I don't want to leave Hughes out of this. I'm not. The two of them together, just incredible together. It's a great duo, a great team. Better than Batman and Robin, baby.
I was told by a reliable source, Knuckles, that Gary Bettman had a say in Gorton also, or recommended him anyways, because I don't think he was thrilled about the way he was let go in New York. Yeah. And Gary Bettman wants the original six teams to be doing well, right? That's good for business, right? When the Canadiens are good, the Leafs are good, the Blackhawks are good. It's all good. And Rick, other good news this week, Lane Hutson signing his new contract, 8 years, the $8.85 million salary cap. You might not want to admit it, Rick, but Knuckles was right last week on the show when he said you expected him to sign for just under $9 million.
Oh, I heard him talk about, yeah, I told you so, I told you
Never,
so.
never. I never rubbed it in on you, Greeny.
You know.
I would never.
But the reaction, it was sort of cool being at practice that day on Thanksgiving Monday. When the players went on the ice, they didn't know that Hutson had signed the contract. Mm-hmm. And at the end of practice, Marty told Hutson to go skate a lap and sort of watching what's going on. And then he told the players, and when he came back, it was like he just scored the Stanley Cup winning goal and they celebrated with him. Just your thoughts about that and just the contract and that they were able to get this guy locked up for 9 more years, including this season.
It just shows you how close these guys are. They know that, you got a really nice contract and deserving of it. And the guys are happy for him. And he's a great kid. From what I understand, everybody really enjoys his presence. He obviously has the heart in the right place. And they didn't want to have this thing going on and on, be distracting to the group and to Lane. So they got it done. The numbers are what they are. That's what it took to get his signature down. They got him locked up for a long term. He's the future. Bigger and better things coming from this kid. And the one thing for sure is the organization is making a statement saying, listen, these are the kind of guys we want in our organization. Let's take care of them and then move forward with addition and subtraction to get ourselves to the ultimate goal of winning a cup.
That was awesome seeing all the guys gather around him. The last time I had that happen, I got hit in the head with a slap shot in practice. I had the whole team around me. You okay? No, I just got a big hole in my head, but I'm okay.
It was only Flower that shot it, too. Better your head than mine.
It was you who gave me, and it's you who pushed me into it.
Well, it's the first time I've seen you get cut.
True.
Did the players all surround Jean Perron when you hit him in the head with a puck?
Well, I don't know. I think the coaching staff did.
Well, the interesting thing, too, is, Knuckles, you were mentioning earlier that there was a period there where guys didn't want to come to Montreal, right? I'm sure a lot of players had Montreal in their no-trade clauses. And now you have all these young guys, including Americans. You got Cole Caulfield, you got Lane Hutson, European, Juraj Slafkovsky, Canadian, that have committed here long-term. And as two former guys who were here and wanted to be here, it must be refreshing to see that.
Yeah.
Rick.
Listen,
or not really.
the modes Americans like it here. And it wasn't too long ago where people, and you heard, the French, you got to learn French, you got to do this, the taxes, da. But when the environment, listen, it's always been a classy organization, but when the environment they created, Gorton and Hughes, and Mr. Molson certainly, where they've drafted these players and they drafted character players and bring these guys in. And you got a captain like Nick Suzuki who just seems like his teammates just love him, and he's a great kid. It creates that atmosphere, and guys love being around it, and guys get close, you bond together, and next thing and Lemaire always said it to me, the most difficult part for a coach is to get a group of guys to play together as a team. And when you're able to do that, when you're able to get guys to care for one another and be there for one another and play for one another, sacrifice one another, you get that feeling of family, right? And they have that now here. And it just, it's an awesome sign for things moving forward.
Well, they've put a focus on not just good players, Rick, but also good people. And Marty spoke about that yesterday when I asked him about Gorton and Hughes. And he said, I wouldn't have joined this team if I didn't think they were good people to build the culture that they want to be. I mean, you've been a player, you've been a coach, assistant coach at Gazettes. How important is that in the locker room?
Well, you hear that word culture quite often. And, the bottom line is you got to have the guys that really want to pay the price and do the extra things that allow them to win. And you talk about guys that, before maybe didn't want to come to Montreal, Now they see that there's an opportunity to win. They see a very positive upside of what the organization is all about, right from the top down. And, that breeds nothing but positivity. And obviously winning is huge. And we've touched on it a number of times before. And when you win in this environment in Montreal, there's no better place in any pro sports than winning in Montreal. And some of these guys that had no idea what it was like to see the reaction of the fans after, a win is beyond description. To see the people up and cheering and stopping you on the street and just living for the success of the team and the individuals, and it's a great it's great to be part of.
You know what? Last night, if I can interject quickly, the applause they gave Marty St. Louis was incredible, so deserving. And I say that because, last year, under a lot of pressure from the media, when things weren't going good, to when's the stick coming out? It's always the carrot. And there's a guy who stayed true to himself, true to his philosophy, his coaching philosophy, and it paid off for this team. And these players getting that taste of what that building was like in the playoffs in Game 3 before they stepped on the ice. Man, that's infectious. And they want another taste of that. So that's a good thing. So awesome on the coach, too. Really good to see that, local man who played everywhere else, never played here, and comes home. And he's a big part of turning this thing around.
No, a special moment for him, and I'm sure for his dad, who's always at the Bell Center. He's one of 15 kids from a wood mill in Quebec, and to see his son not only be a Hall of Fame hockey player, but also become head coach of the Canadiens, so special. I always love talking hockey with two guys who know what it's like to win a Stanley Cup with the Canadiens. That's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. Look for our 3 bonus episodes coming up later in the week. The Canadiens' next 3 games are all at home, with the Nashville Predators at the Bell Center on Thursday, the New York Rangers on Saturday, and the Buffalo Sabres on Monday before the Canes head out for a 4-game Western road trip. I also want to say hello to all the fans who will be in town this weekend for the annual Hockey Inside Out Summit. Hope you all have a great time, and I'll see you all Saturday afternoon at Hurley's Pub on Crescent for a little pregame meal. Anyway, enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you again soon.